Lakes of the World, written by Edward Allen Kurtz.
Contents at a glance.
What is a lake? What is a lake? A lake is a large inland body of water, usually filled with fresh water. It is surrounded by land and is not part of an ocean. It is for the most part motionless, unlike an ocean, which has waves. A lake is formed when water goes into a basin or bowl in the ground. A lake usually has a source of fresh water, like a stream. This stream can be above ground or under the ground. A lake also sometimes has a stream that drains out of the lake. Other sources of water for a lake include rain and melting ice or snow. Lakes versus oceans, ponds, reservoirs, and seas. What is the difference between a lake, an ocean, a pond, a reservoir, and a sea? Let's start with an ocean. An ocean is a large body of salt water. There are 5 oceans: the Antarctic, Arctic, Atlantic, Indian, and Pacific. A pond is a body of fresh water, smaller than a lake, and the water is shallow. A reservoir is a man-made body of water that is formed by the building of a dam. A sea is a body of salt water that is partly or completely surrounded by land. Some people use the word sea for the ocean. The biggest lake in the world. The biggest lake in the world is the Caspian Sea. Sea? Is it a lake or a sea? Some people call the Caspian Sea a sea, and some think that it is the largest lake in the world. Either way, at over 143,000 square miles, it is the largest inland body of water that is completely surrounded by land. Several countries make up the land that surrounds the Caspian Sea, including Azerbaijan, Iran, Kazakhstan, Russia, and Turkmenistan. Some animals that live here include carp, gulls, mussels, endemic Caspian seals, sturgeon, swans, and terns. The deepest lake in the world. The deepest lake in the world is Lake Baikal. It is over 5,300 feet deep and is located in southern Russia, just north of the border with Mongolia. Lake Baikal is not only the deepest lake in the world, it also has the greatest volume of any lake in the world. It holds an amazing 20% of the world's unfrozen fresh water. It is the 7th largest lake in the world, so its great depth explains why it holds so much water. About 80% of the animals found here are endemic to the lake, like the Baikal seal and many kinds of fish. The highest lake in the world. The highest lake in the world is Ojos del Salado. It lies at nearly 21,000 feet above sea level in a crater of the Ojos del Salado volcano. This is the highest active volcano in the world, and it is located between Argentina and Chile in the Andes Mountains in South America. Ojos del Salado is also the 2nd highest peak in the Andes Mountains, in the Southern Hemisphere and in the Western Hemisphere. Not far from the lake are fumaroles. These are the vents in or near a volcano that allow hot steam to escape. The lowest lake in the world. The lowest freshwater lake in the world is the Sea of Galilee. It lies about 700 feet below sea level. It is located in the northwest corner of Israel, near Jordan and Syria. The Sea of Galilee is also the largest freshwater lake in Israel. Some people call the Dead Sea a lake, but it is a salt lake. It is also found in Israel, and it lies about 1,000 feet below sea level.
The Sea of Galilee is also known as Kinneret, Lake of Gennesaret, and Lake Tiberias.
The Jordan River is its source of water. Reeds line the shores, and fish swim in the lake. Famous lakes, the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes are a series of 5 freshwater lakes that are connected and are located in North America between Canada and the United States. They are Lake Huron, Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, Lake Erie, and Lake Superior. Together they form the biggest group of freshwater lakes in the world. They contain over 20% of the world's fresh water. From Lake Ontario, the easternmost lake, they are connected by the St. Lawrence Seaway to the Atlantic Ocean. A huge number of fish swim in these lakes. Famous lakes, Loch Ness. Loch Ness is a lake in Scotland that is probably most well known for the Loch Ness Monster, whose nickname is Nessie. Loch means lake in Scottish and Irish. Loch Ness is a large and deep freshwater lake in northern Scotland, just south of the city of Inverness. It is the second largest lake in Scotland after Loch Lomond, another famous Scottish lake. No one knows if the Loch Ness Monster exists or not.
It was first mentioned in a book that was written over 1,400 years ago.
Famous lakes. Lake Tanganyika. Lake Tanganyika is a large lake found in Central Africa, near the equator. It is surrounded by several countries, including Burundi, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Tanzania, and Zambia. It is one of the 7 African Great Lakes, along with Lake Albert, Lake Edward, Lake Kivu, Lake Malawi, Lake Turkana, and Lake Victoria. It is one of the largest and deepest lakes in the world. There are more than 400 different kinds of fish that live in Lake Tanganyika, as well as crabs, jellyfish, and shrimp. Famous lakes, Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca is the largest lake in South America. It lies between Bolivia and Peru. Sitting at over 12,500 feet above sea level, Lake Titicaca is the highest navigable lake in the world. This means that ships and boats can travel on it. It is known for its artificial islands made of floating reeds.
There are over 40 of these islands that are called hijos, and people live on them. The hijos also have watchtowers made of reeds.
The islands were built so that they could be moved if needed. Famous lakes, Lake Victoria. Lake Victoria is a large lake in eastern Africa. It was named after Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom. It is surrounded by several countries, including Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. It is one of the 7 African Great Lakes, along with Lake Albert, Lake Edward, Lake Kivu, Lake Malawi, Lake Tanganyika, and Lake Turkana. Rain and many small streams are the sources of Lake Victoria's water, but what is more well known is the name of its outlet, the Nile River, which is the longest river in the world. Lake Fauna.
Many kinds of fauna or animals live in and around lakes.
Swimming in the water are fish like bass, catfish, pike, and sturgeon. There are also crustaceans in lakes like crabs and crayfish, amphibians like frogs and reptiles, like snakes and turtles. There are also insects, some like dragonflies, fly above the surface of the lake. Others, like water boatmen, swim down into the water, while others, like water striders, glide over the surface of the water. Lake mammals include beavers, hippos, and otters, while birds include ducks and egrets. Lake flora. There are many kinds of flora, or plants that live in and around lakes. We call these aquatic plants, and there are 3 kinds. First, there are plants that float on the surface of the water. Examples of floating plants include duckweed, parrot feather, and water hyacinth. Second, there are plants that live entirely under the water. They are called submergent plants, and the spiked water milfoil is one of these. Third, there are plants that grow out of the water. These emergent plants include water lilies and reeds. Interesting facts. Here is an easy way to remember the 5 Great Lakes. Just remember that if you put together the first letter of the names of each lake, it spells homes. Huron, Ontario, Michigan, Erie, Superior. Lake Vostok in Antarctica is an example of a subglacial lake. It is permanently frozen. Finland is nicknamed the land of the 1,000 lakes because it has more than 187,000 lakes. More than 130 rivers flow into the Caspian Sea, including the Volga River, the longest river in Europe. Ponds and lakes are called lentic ecosystems because they don't move like streams and rivers. Interesting facts. The study of bodies of fresh water like ponds and lakes is called limnology. The water temperature in lakes near the equator does not change much, but in colder climates, the water temperature changes greatly from one season to the next. There are more freshwater lakes in the northern hemisphere than in the southern hemisphere.
Water moves in and out of most lakes by way of streams, but endorheic lakes have no streams and lose water only through evaporation and through underground seepage.